Okay, so the third attempt at passing the continuing resolution bill was successful in the House of Representatives. I want to share with you what is in this bill. It did pass the House of Representatives 366 to 34 nay. There was a number who did not even vote. It is now going to go on to the Senate, and it will probably pass there. So let's go ahead and talk about what's in this, and then I want to share with you what Mike Johnson, Speaker, is saying about it and his contact with President Donald Trump on this. And then ultimately, I want to tell you if I would have voted yes or no for this, because I do think that this is controversial. This is actually sort of the first big hurdle that conservatives had to go through even before Donald Trump has become president, which just shows you how ridiculous this whole process is. So this bill, as far as I can look at it now, it's been available to people like me, the public, for about 2.5 hours now or so since it's been released, at least the recording of this video, maybe not you watching it. It's about $100 billion, which is a lot less than the original 1,547-page mammoth bill that was about $1 trillion. So right off the bat, about a $900 billion deduction off of that. So that's a pretty big success there. So what is this bill made of? So the biggest line item on this bill is disaster relief. That's $16.5 billion. Underneath that is agricultural support, is about $10.5 billion. FEMA disaster recovers $10 billion. Highway infrastructure, $8 billion. Wildfire management and suppression, $6.2 billion. Public health emergency fund, $5 billion. Community development grants, $5 billion. Electric grid, $4.7 billion. Cybersecurity enhancements, $4.1 billion. I'm not going to go through the entire thing with you. If you want, you know what, I'll just leave it in the description below. You could take a look at it if you like to. When you hear those numbers for those types of things, you might initially think that, this is a pretty decent and okay bill. However, within these spending sections that sound really good, what the Congress people do is they shove line items underneath there that give them access to a lot of funds. So for example, for disaster relief, $3 million of that is to test molasses. $7.5 million is for agricultural oversight, which basically means that the Congress people are going to be paying themselves. $356.5 million is to plant trees. Again, something that probably could have waited until next year or the year after that was shoved into this bill under disaster relief. $1.5 million for economic development. A bunch of this is going to go as kickbacks. $399 million for hurricane hunter planes, again, under disaster relief. Doesn't really make sense. $300 million for fisheries. $12 million to U.S. marshals. $64.7 million for prisoner expenses related to the disaster. $749 million to NASA, and a ton of money under this section going to the Air Force, Space Force, Department of Defense. So let me go ahead and share with you what Speaker of the House Mike Johnson is saying about this and his connections with Donald Trump throughout this process. And then I'll share with you if I think this is something that should have been passed.
I was in constant contact with President Trump throughout this process. Spoke with him most recently about 45 minutes ago. He knew exactly what we were doing and why, and this is a good outcome for the country. I think he certainly is happy about this outcome as well. Elon Musk and I talked within about an hour ago, and we talked about the extraordinary challenges of this job. And I said, hey, you want to be Speaker of the House? I don't know. He said, this may be the hardest job in the world. I think it is. But we're going to get through this. We are going to unify this country, and we are going to bring the America First agenda to the people beginning in January. We cannot wait to get started. I hope you all have a great holiday.
So let's talk about this, and let me say this first. Number one, I'm really not a Mike Johnson fan. I do, however, appreciate that he is in constant contact with Donald Trump and Elon Musk. And at the end of the day, it does look like both Donald Trump and Elon Musk were in support of this third bill. Now, if I was there, is this something that I would have voted on? And I'm going to answer this in two parts here. Me, personally, as an individual without anyone else telling me what to do, I would have voted no. Primarily because I think that a lot of it is completely unnecessary and it is completely unpaid for. I think you could have whittled down this $100 billion CR bill to something like $10 to $20 billion and given the money to the people who really need it. $80 billion of this is really unnecessary. So you whittle it down to $20 billion and then you figure out a way to pay for that $20 billion by cutting other programs. In my opinion, I think that is where we are right now. However, if I step back from that and I start to look outside of just myself and I start to look at those who I'm trying to get guidance and leadership from, of course, Donald Trump and Elon Musk, Vivek Ramaswamy, and others are going to be people that I'm going to do that with. And it does look like they're in support of it. And I do think that there's a reason they are in support of it, because if you don't get something like this passed through, and with what I was just talking about, you're never going to pass that through. $20 billion that has to be paid for, which is what some of the other Republicans wanted, that's never going to pass. Basically, that's going to be hovering over Donald Trump's presidency for the next 4 years. By passing this thing, which is still not the greatest in the world, you get that out of the way. You no longer have to deal with that. And now Donald Trump can just focus on exactly what he wants to focus on. And then Elon Musk and Vivek can go in there and basically just start tearing the living daylights out of all the different government programs and everything that needs to be completely dismantled. However, this is not going to fund the government forever. They're going to have to re-vote on this thing in short enough time. And I do think on the next vote, with Donald Trump being in the presidency and getting through this batch, that I would be even stricter on the next bill going through as far as the spending. And I would be even less apt to vote on anything that is not paid for. I do, in fact, think the next time a spending bill goes through the Congress like this, the next time you have a continuing resolution bill, that it has to be completely paid for. And that has to be told to the American people before going in. That's the optics of this. They need to let everyone in the United States know this is the first time in a long time that we are going to pass a bill, and we will not pass it unless it is fully paid for. The days of Congress passing bills that are not paid for is gone with conservatives in power. Now, if you want to pass bills that are not paid for and you want to put Democrats in power, then that's your choice if you want to go and vote for that. But right now, those days are gone with conservatives, because we are $35 trillion in debt, and we can no longer do this. I think in the upcoming one, I would be even more strict on that, because I think that is where we are. What do you all think about this? Leave your comments below. I'll catch you in the next video.